I accidentally recorded this entire video in black and white without realizing, and I don't have time to re-record it because there's a lot of videos this week, so pretend it's in black and white because I'm just really sad about the digital life forms, okay? Sorry, gang. Digital life forms. Creatures that exist in the Digimon universe somewhere between Digimon and something else. And with the upcoming set Cyber Eden having Eater cards from Digimon Story Cyber Sleuth, I've been thinking about digital life forms a lot recently. And inspired by the fact that Nanomon in Digimon Liberator has a champion form called Mulemon, which has kind of repurposed elements of Digibeetle, I feel like now's about time to talk about 10 digital life forms that you'll never see again. What is up, digital companions? My name is Karn EX and welcome back to another video. And if you can hear a fan in the background, sorry, I am not turning it off today. It's one of the hottest days in the UK right now, so fan stays on or else I'm going to be super red-faced by the end of this video. I could not have said a more ironic thing, could I? Oh god. And yes, digital life forms. They exist in a myriad of ways. Typically as kind of like enemy forces in video games and anime. One of the most prominent digital life forms I think people will be familiar with is the D-Reaper, which we haven't seen return in anything apart from Digimon Tamers up until things like the Digimon TCG. So I will say it is more likely than ever that these things will return in the Digimon TCG. However, I think all of the Digimon, or digital life forms should I say, on this list today will never return in like anime, video games, V-Pets, or anything like that. And if they do show up in the card game, they're hitting the bottom of the barrel. But there are some digital life forms that you'll get to see time and time again with today's sponsor, Nanomon Virtual Pet. Nanomon is a tiny virtual pet that chills on your desktop. Hatched from the depths of cyberspace, Nanomon need to be cared for, raised, and trained to uncover the secrets of the Nanoscape, an ever-changing world filled with monsters and minigames. Can you discover more than 25 unique evolutions and reach the uncharted depths of the Nanoscape? What kind of tamer will you be? Nanomon Virtual Pet launches on Steam on June 24th, so wishlist today. Nanomon looks so cool. It feels like a very easy alignment with our interest as Digimon fans. A little virtual pet on my desktop is mwah, chef's kiss. So do make sure you go check it out, and thank you to Nanomon Virtual Pet for sponsoring this video. Alright, so the first digital life form that I think we're never going to see again is more of a group of digital life forms, and that is the Eirias from Digimon Story Lost Evolution, and it's kind of ironic that the game title is Lost Evolution, huh? Eirias are actually a merging of human tamers and their Digimon partners, creating these freaky aliens, but the forms are so cool. Like, for example, the base Eirias and Shift Eirias I could easily see being related to the Bemon line from Digimon World 3. There's also EX Eirias Alpha, who to me looks like the long-lost Pangeamon cousin, like a Pangeamon GX. Kind of like how we have Jesmon, Jesmon X, and Jesmon GX. This could be Pangeamon GX. EX Eirias Beta is well, it's a bird of some variety. Okay, maybe we don't need this one back. EX Eirias Gamma I've talked about before, as up until this year, this was our only real Lamia adjacent design for, well, again, not a Digimon, a digital life form, but a creature in the Digimon mythos. Now we do have Medusamon and Lamiamon, so I feel like it's even less likely we're going to see X Eirias Gamma again, but man, she's cool. And finally, in the Eirias family is X Eirias Omega, and it's a little bit of a messy design. You can kind of see how it's all the others combined. I don't know, man, I feel like we might see these in the card game one day, but given that Lost Evolution was never translated into English, there's only a fan patch of it, it feels less likely. Now, I know people are going to say, well, we did get an entire set themed around Digimon World Redigitized, and that's absolutely true, we did, and that game never got released in English either. However, I think ironically, or perhaps on brand, Lost Evolution feels like the Digimon story game that is most ignored, maybe apart from Super Cross Wars Red and Blue, and so the chances of stuff from that game showing up are not unlikely. However, I think because it doesn't have a ton of stuff people are really nostalgic for, it may go by the wayside. One day, Shift Eirias, one day I'll see you again. Next up are the Black Guardian and the Blue Guardian from Digimon World 2, and they literally just act as bosses or sub-bosses for the core tower, with Black Guardian being more hench and Blue Guardian being more kind of like dainty, I guess. It's a shame though, because apart from the 3D models and the profile sprites, we've really had no official art of these guys to this day, and given they do have signature attacks, I think it would be nice if they had been converted into Digimon at some point, but they're just a little bit too weird, I guess. I think it's also funny if you look at Blue Guardian and then look at Mr. Navit and then the NPCs in Digimon Digimon Liberator, there is a design element that kind of keeps going throughout these. So you could say that Blue Guardian is the ancestor of Mr. Navitz and the NPCs from Liberator. Sadly though, I do think that Black Guardian and Blue Guardian, black and blue, are just never going to show up again. But maybe we'll get them in the card game. Next up is one that honestly I'm surprised I've not seen homaged more, and that is Overlord Gaia, also from Digimon World 2. I was tempted to throw this in with Black and Blue Guardian, but I feel like Overlord Gaia stands a better chance of coming back and also just deserves to come back more than Black and Blue Guardian. It's the literal final boss of Digimon World 2. Like, you save the world by defeating, or at least you save the digital world. It's got an incredible Piedmon-esque design. Like, I could definitely believe this as an ultra level for Piedmon. And given that we do have digital life forms that have gone on to become real Digimon, like Chaos Lord from the literal exact game, which was basically reconfigured to become Chaosdramon amongst others in other video games, Overlord Gaia not getting that treatment is bizarre to me. This could, like I say, so easily be a new Piedmon evolution of some variety or something else, you know? I don't think we're ever seeing this guy again as a result of that. Similarly, another main villain, main boss of a Digimon World game that I don't think we're going to see again is Lord Megadeth. First of all, metal name, dude. Second of all, this guy was so linked to Fujinmon, Suijinmon, and Raijinmon. It's really disappointing we haven't seen him show up, even as like an option or something in the card game when those Shinto trio got cards in the game. Lord Megadeth definitely feels like Digimon World 3's take on a similar concept to Overlord Gaia, but with much more of a like Japanese magistrate vibe to it, in my opinion. Also, let's not forget that Lord Megadeth is tied lore-wise to Bemon and Snatchmon too, as Snatchmon absorbs Lord Megadeth upon its defeat. Like, there's definitely a world where we even have like a Snatchmon Lord Megadeth combined form of some variety. And with Bemon getting so many more cards in things like Digimon Liberator, that link to Lord Megadeth in its origin game seems to have been severed permanently. Then are the Mecha Rogues, and I have a little bit of a different reason for thinking these guys are never going to be seen again, and that's because one of them straight up became a Digimon. Mecha Rogue X Form 1 is basically Proto-Craniamon that we saw in Digimon World 4. A lot of Digimon games really love creating unique digital life forms and then just never using them again. It's a shame. However, Mecha Rogue X is not the only Mecha Rogue in that game. With Mecha Rogue 01, 02, 03, the Rhino Dog, 04, which honestly also kind of gives me Craniamon or Cyberdramon vibes, Mecha Rogue 04, which also resembles Mecha Rogue X but in a different color, and therefore Craniamon, Mecha Rogue 05, which is awesome. It feels like a Saltmon and Minotaurmon had a baby, Mecha Rogue X Form 2, which exists, and Mecha Rogue X Form 3, which, like, if this doesn't become Craniamon GX at some point, what are we doing? But these are all really cool designs, and I think easily could have been transitioned into Digimon just like Mecha Rogue X was. But it just didn't happen for any of them, and I think now that Mecha Rogue X has basically become Craniamon and we've never seen it again, just how, like, we got Chaosdramon and have never seen Chaos Lord again, I think maybe the time for all of these has gone. However, I do think we might see them referenced at some point in a similar way to how Mulemon references the Digibeetle, but my dream of having a Mecha Rogue 3 Digimon form perhaps is dead. Next up is a child and a drapes. No, this is Colonel, also from Lost Evolution, and higher up on the list, because we ain't ever seeing this guy again. This is such a niche digital life form, and honestly kind of reminds me of something that is spoilerific for Digimon Universe Aptly Monsters. I won't say it as not to spoil people who haven't watched it yet, but if you know, you know, especially with the Giga Devast and Terra Devast forms. Colonel itself, sure, like seeing a random blonde kid in the card game at some point is a whatever, but Giga Devast with this like insane Omnimon meets Ultimate Chaosmon meets Snatchmon vibe, like, oh my god, this could be a Digimon so easily. What are we doing? And then Terra Devast, well, it's just like more of the same, but still kind of crazy. The fact we have not seen Colonel and its monster forms ever again is kind of a shame, especially because if we have this history of digital life forms being converted somewhat into Digimon, the Devasts would be perfect for that, man. Imagine Ultimate Chaosmon absorbing Omnimon and becoming like Devastatemon or Devastmon. Ugh, we're never gonna see them again though. Maybe in the card game, 1% chance. My fourth to last pick is Takato Matsuki from 2018. Now you're gonna be like, Karn, what are you talking about? Digimon Tamers lore has gotten weird, dude. So yes, in an effort to continue the story of Digimon Tamers, but because Takato's voice actor couldn't sound believably like a 30-year-old man, during the Digimon Tamers 15th Blu-ray box special drama, Takato goes missing, and a thing called Nyx uses a reanimator to bring Takato back. But no, it doesn't bring Takato back, it instead makes a copy of the version of Takato from Tamers. So in 2018, a child version of Takato, which is a digital life form, not a real human, is running around. There's some really cool stuff here though, like the fake Takato using a card slash with a cell phone, which I think could have been a really cool concept if we'd have seen it animated. And then even in Digimon Tamers 2021, this is kind of the de facto Takato, as the adult Takato is still missing. The problem is, however, there was a lot of controversy with Digimon Tamers 2021. I am not interested in rehashing that. It was just a mess. We can all agree on that, regardless of what side you're on. And Kanaka has basically implied that, yeah, he's not going to be returning to Digimon in the near future or possibly ever. And just trying to get Digimon Tamers projects off the ground are harder. I think if something were to happen with Tamers now, it's more likely they would ignore all the audio dramas and maybe even run away Locomon and just start a brand new movie, or maybe even reboot it. So this weird digital version of Takato that runs around like he's the real boy, but he isn't, I just don't think we're going to see him again. Or maybe we've already seen him. Maybe one of the cards that's Takato is the 2018 Takato. Next up is Neo, and I'm mad about this. Neo is so cool. And by the way, not Neo Cyber, N-E-O. This is just a completely unknown, mysterious life form from Digimon Next. And Digimon Next got a lot of cool stuff going on, man. I would highly encourage you, if you can, to read a fan-translated version of Digimon Next, because stuff pops off. Neo is also one of few digital life forms to have been graced with a Digimon reference book listing, meaning this thing's history and acknowledgement as a digital life form and shifting into a Digimon is crazy. Its level is unknown, its type is unidentified, and its attribute is also unknown. Imagine if this turns up in Time Stranger, that'd be crazy. Now listen, there is actually a good chance Neo shows up again, especially in the card game. However, I feel like Digimon Next as a whole is getting ignored pretty wholesale by Digimon across the board, whether it be video games, card game, etc. Like, let's not forget that Victory Greymon and Zed Garurumon were also debuts in Digimon Next, and they really get treated the worst out of all the variants of Greymon and Garurumon. So yeah, Neo, this little weird amalgam creature, the big boss final antagonist of Digimon Next. I just don't think we're going to see it again. If we do, maybe in the card game, but I think that's about it. I don't know, man. Bring back Neo of all varieties. Neo and Neo Cyber. Cheers. My penultimate pick is Vitium from Digimon World Redigitize and Decode. This is just so annoying to me that this isn't a Digimon. We have the Vitium baby, the Vitium adult, which is like some cool Godzilla thing, which is even crazier now that we have the G Erosion Digimon, and the Vitium Ultimate or Vitium Mega, which is like this crazy data girl with yiddies. It's crazy. I love Digimon. Vitium are so intrinsic to the lore of Digimon World Redigitize. However, they were created ostensibly by Nikolai's father, Dr. Petrov, in Project Vitium, and even are connected to Mirai as a result of that. And given how huge in the franchise Mirai now is, showing up in obviously Redigitize, World Next Order, Cyber Sleuth and Hacker's Memory, and maybe more in the future, as well as of course the card game, Vitium has this big connection to her. It's kind of a shame we haven't really seen it, and likely we'll never see it again. Especially, as I say, with all these digital life forms being converted into Digimon, how hard would it have been to have a Vitiummon? Like we have the Eosmon that all have the same name, or Algomon that all have the same name. Why not give us a full line of Vitiummon and make it a real Digimon? Such a shame. Alright, and finally, and I can't believe I'm about to say these words out loud, Madoka Magica Yggdrasil. Yes, my final pick is also from Digimon Next, and a Digimon that I think we are way less likely, or should I say digital life form we are way less likely to see again, and that is specifically Norn Mikihara. Norn is the human form of Yggdrasil from Digimon Next. Its name literally comes from Norns, which are these women that kind of like sit or are bound to the world tree Yggdrasil in Norse mythology, and Mikihara, which is Japanese for beautiful tree field, also a reference to the Yggdrasil tree. Norn also isn't as evil or merciless as other iterations of Yggdrasil, especially the one from X Evolution and indeed Tri. Instead, kind of being somewhat of a friend and ally, and it's a really weird depiction of Yggdrasil. It feels very like Equestria Girls coded. Or when we got Cutie Terry in SNK Heroines Tag Team Frenzy. It's just such a little bizarre part of Digimon history, but I feel like it's one that we're just not going to see again just because they don't want to hamper the image of Yggdrasil. However, if you don't want to make a whole card dedicated to Norn, I think it would be absolutely hilarious to have tournament prizing of the King Drazil card that is just Norn. How funny would that be? Alright, that is it. 10 digital life forms that we're probably never going to see again, but secretly I'm hoping Time After Time is going to do its thing, and we're going to see all of these guys come back, and I hope that one day this entire video is completely inaccurate. Thank you so much for watching, and thank you to Nanomon Virtual Pet for sponsoring this video. Do go check it out when it comes out in a couple of days on Steam, and thank you to my Sovereign ZDK14, as well as everyone else who supports me over on Patreon patreon.com/Karn EX, and my YouTube channel members here on YouTube. I appreciate you guys too. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time when we go digital. Bye bye.